Hey everybody, I'm Paintball Dad, and I just did something amazing. I coached a team at a paintball tournament for my very first time, and we took third place just a couple weeks ago. Let me tell you how this all started. So a couple of months ago, I had a fan reach out to me via Facebook, and he asked if I was going to be at my home field, Palmetto Hills Paintball. He told me that he's kind of like me. He's been playing paintball for a really long time, but he took a break for a while, and now he's just getting back into it, and so he wanted to have somebody there to help him learn the ropes again. And I told him, sure, I'd be happy to. So we met up, and it didn't take long before he got the itch to play competitive paintball. And so we started talking about how it worked. I explained to him about the whole ranking structure of paintball and what the tournament circuits are in our area. And I pointed him in the right direction to meet some local teams that were in the D6 division. He met up with one team in particular called the Killionaires, and he started chatting with them, getting to know them, going to a couple of practices with them. And then after a few weeks, he became an official member of their team. Now, things were moving pretty fast, and in just a couple of months, he was already signed up for his first paintball tournament. He was signed up for the C3XL, which is a local 3-man X-ball tournament that's out of Palmetto Hills Paintball, and it serves D6 and D5 teams. So I said, hey, that sounds like the perfect tournament to get your first experience. And in the meantime, I had still been going to Palmetto Hill pretty much every weekend, and I ran into him and the Killionaires a couple of times, so I got to know them as well. And now just a few days before the tournament, my friend asked me if I would be available to go out and support him while he was there. And I said, sure, I should be available. Now, initially, my plan was to just go there for a couple of hours, say hi and bye, maybe give a little bit of support and help while I was there, run pods for a point, maybe give like a little suggestion here or there as to how to change their strategy up. But then somewhere along the line of that thought process, I just said to myself, well, why don't I just coach them for the whole tournament? And so I reached out to the league and I reached out to the team captain to make sure that everything would be okay with me showing up and coaching. And everybody gave me the green light. And I was actually really excited for this. I've never coached for an actual tournament before. I've always done impromptu coaching here and there while I'm at the paintball field, mostly to just help out new players or players that I see that are struggling with something. Basically, I just like to be helpful wherever I can. But this was different. Now I was actually taking on the responsibility of leading a team to victory in an event that has prizes on the line. And to raise the stakes even higher, this team had only played one tournament before this one, and they came in dead last place in their first tournament. I think their captain had even said they didn't win a single point in that tournament. But I told myself, just take things step by step, focus on small goals. I told myself to set the bar low at first. The first thing I gotta do is make a plan to get everybody to their first bunkers alive. Then work on getting to their second bunkers. Then focus on making a couple of kills. And that's really how I compartmentalize things when I play in paintball tournaments. I try to make small goals for myself so that I don't get overwhelmed by everything all at once. And now the morning of the tournament, I started driving up to Rock Hill, and I was messaging back and forth with the guys on the team, giving them little ideas and asking them to send me pictures of the field so I can help give them an idea of like what kind of a plan to work out for their first point. Because I was expecting to get there a little bit late. I wasn't actually expecting to get there on time for the first point. But luckily I did. I actually got there with enough time to even walk the field. And so I ran onto the field as soon as I got myself registered. I did a quick walkthrough and I started, giving them an immediate battle strategy. I talked it over with their captain, but their captain had a different idea. He wanted to do a little more of a conservative play. And I said, all right, let's roll with that. But if it doesn't work out, then let's change it up. And so they got out there for their first point, and they actually lost that point. Now, the team they were playing against was pretty good. I think they're ranked in the top 5 or something for the season in the C3XL. So it was a rough way to start the day from the get-go. But as soon as they walked off and they got back into the pits, I started cleaning them down, making sure that they had no paint marks on them, making sure everybody had their pods all filled up and their air filled up. And then I gave them a new plan. I said, hey, I want you guys to do something aggressive. I want somebody to go straight to the 50, someone to go straight into the snake, and I want your home player to stay at home and shoot a lane to the snake, and the player who's going up to the 50 to also be gunning while he's running. Now, I can't remember if they actually shot someone off the break, but I know they did make a kill pretty early on in that point. And then one by one, it was just the domino effect. They got kill after kill, and then they closed out the point. And that was a really pivotal moment, honestly, for all of us, because I think I got their trust after that, but I also kind of surprised myself. Even in my head, I was saying to myself, oh wow, I actually know what I'm talking about. Now, time ended up running out on their next point, so it ended up in a tie, a one-on-one, but I made sure to hype them up. I told them, hey, this is a great way to start the day. We just went toe-to-toe with a really good team, and there's nothing to be ashamed of. We just got to keep this momentum going. And we actually won the next match, then we lost our third match, and then we won the 4th match. So all together in the prelims, we had 2 wins, a draw, and a loss. But it was good enough to get us past the prelims and onto the knockout rounds. Now, since there was a small number of teams that had signed up for this event, only the top 4 teams moved on to the knockout rounds. So that meant we were guaranteed 2 more matches. The first match would determine whether or not we fight for 1st and 2nd. The second match would determine whether or not we fight for 3rd or 4th place. And so our first match of the knockout rounds was actually against the team that was holding on to 1st place for the seasonal rankings. And man, it was intense. I needed some ibuprofen afterwards because my head was just throbbing afterwards. I think they won the 1st point, and then we brought it back and won the 2nd point. And then we just held strong until time ran out, and then we forced them to overtime. And I wish somebody was recording me during this whole time because I was freaking out. I was pulling on my shirt, like lifting it over my head. I was jumping on the benches. I was actually getting really worked up over in the pit because I was so excited. I was so happy. I was like, wow, we can really do this. We can really go from last place to 1st place. But I think in that overtime round, the pressure just got to them and they started making little mistakes, and we ended up losing that match. So 1st and 2nd place was out of the question for us after that. But we still had another match to determine whether or not we would get 3rd place. And it was against that same team that we had started the day out with that tie. And so I did my best to keep my guys hyped up. I told them, hey, we tied against those guys before. We can finish them off this time. Everybody probably thought that we were going to be the easy team to beat today, but we have shown that we belong here. And boy, this was another match that I was just freaking out about. I think we had won the 1st point, and then they had won the 2nd point. And there was like 20 something seconds left on the clock, and so I had to make a decision. Do we go balls to the wall and try to force a point, or do we play it safe and push the game into overtime? And so I decided that we should just play it safe and push it into overtime. And again, I was pulling out my shirt and jumping up on the benches. I was praying. I was just as invested in winning as these guys were. And it was a slow point, but one by one we brought their numbers down. And we ended up winning that match to take 3rd place. Now, before I take all the credit for myself, I do want to give a shout out to the Killionaires, and I want to recognize that they do have talent. I don't know if it's all stuff that they've learned on their own or stuff that they've learned from me while I was coaching them, but they did show that they had some skills that were a little bit above what I would expect from a normal D6 player. Most of them did have the ability to switch hands between left hand and right hand. I noticed that one of their guys was actually really good at gunfighting. He was good at being unpredictable. He wouldn't force a gunfight. He would come out the opposite direction when somebody was shooting to either his right or his left. So he was smart about just not popping his face right into a lane of paint. And one of their guys was really smart about knowing when to make aggressive runs down the field. So this team really has come a long way in the short amount of time that they've actually been playing together. And I'm very grateful to them for giving me this opportunity and for also letting me take one of the medals home with me. And so now I have an interesting decision to make for the next season. Do I remain as a player for the 2025 paintball season, or do I start a new path as a coach? I think I'll know the answer to that after World Cup. But that wraps it up for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing this story. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.